great question, and it's fairly broad. So we're helping people from a leadership perspective and to really create a high performance culture. So we need to make sure that people are already on board with this idea of the importance of how much culture can influence productivity and profitability in a business. So we're helping leaders to really understand the science behind leading people better. I think if you cast your mind back even 10 years ago, we didn't have nearly the science that we have now. And in 10 years, we'll have it.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Rexhen, and today's guest is Vanessa Bennett, a high-performance coach and neuroscience-based leadership expert helping driven leaders and teams unlock more productivity, energy, and profitability without burning out. As the CEO of Next Evolution Performance, Vanessa collaborates with leaders in financial and professional services across 10 plus countries, leveraging advanced neuroscience techniques. For example, she helps them regain up to 2 additional hours of productive time per person per day, while also lowering mental fatigue and staff turnover. With a background in financial services and a passion for making peak performance sustainable, Vanessa is reshaping what it means to lead and live at your best. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Thanks so much, Rexhen. Great to be here with you.
It's a pleasure for us to have you on, and thank you for coming. So I want to know a little bit more about what inspired you, how this all got started. What inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I used to work in financial services, and I held very senior leadership roles with sales teams. And one of the things that I always found was that, I saw it as my role as a leader to make sure that my team wasn't getting burnt out. And I always really saw the benefit in making sure that it's not just people doing the work, it's how they go about doing the work. And I saw so many people in financial services getting burnt out, getting tired, getting sick, and they were just basically always seemed very busy, just being busy, and they weren't necessarily being as productive as they could be. And so I really enjoyed sort of bringing in those kind of concepts into how I ran my team. And then I kind of realized one day that was actually the bit that I really enjoyed doing. And I kind of thought, what, I think this is a thing. And this was really kind of before it was a thing. And I thought, what, I think there's something in this. So it was one of those things where I just had to have a go at doing that. And I was very lucky. While I was still working in corporate, I met my now business partner, and we just hit it off. And she was doing something similar and embryonic over in the UK at the time, and it was just one of those things where I thought, what, I really think there's something here. So let's go and see what we can do.
So, sorry, you were stuck for a second. I didn't understand what happened.
That's weird. Where was I stuck?
I think it might have been recording all good, but just want to make sure you finished your thought and everything was okay, right?
Yeah, that's
okay,
right.
all good. So potentially that might have been recorded on your end, so it should be all good, but somehow you got stuck with me. But no problem, it's not going to show on the actual recording, it's recording separately. Great, awesome. And the editor can cut this a remark that I made here just so it's not part of the conversation. Yeah, cool. I wanted to know right now, when it comes to the people that you work with, how would you describe them? What is that ideal client profile, and how do you help them? What are the programs that they are going through when working with you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's fairly broad. So we're helping people from a leadership perspective and to really create a high performance culture. So we need to make sure that people are already on board with this idea of the importance of how much culture can influence productivity and profitability in a business. So we're helping leaders to really understand the science behind leading people better. I think if you cast your mind back even 10 years ago, we didn't have nearly the science that we have now. And in 10 years, we'll have even more amazing science. So we want to make sure that people understanding more of the neuroscience in terms of how to lead people better to get great results, but in a way that doesn't feel like it's burning people out. So our definition of high performance is where people feel safe and engaged to do their best work in a way that feels energizing, but it's not something that's going to burn them out in the process. And so when we have people who see that, they're the kind of people that we want to work with. So we run programs, we do a lot of different forms of delivery, but basically we're up to 8, I think at the moment, half-day workshops, which are some of our off-the-shelf work in terms of helping people to understand more of this neuroscience, helping people to understand what is required in today's workplace, not what was expected in the workplace 10 years ago. And I think the workplace has changed significantly, and we need to make sure that we're updating leadership skills according to that. So we do a mix between workshops to get the content out there for people, but we also do embedding sessions and group coaching to make sure that people actually are very good at implementing this. It's not just a case of hearing a session and going, oh, that's great. Well, now I go back to the office and I don't do anything with it. We want to make sure that people have got that support via group coaching. We also do team coaching, and we also do one-to-one coaching for the senior leaders to make sure that they are in a position to be helping their teams to implement all of this. I think some of the feedback that we get around our leadership programs is that it's very different to those classic kind of leadership programs that have been run for years on years on years. We're really looking at today's problems in the workplace. And when you think about some of the workplace issues today, it's things like we do have burnout. We do have people feeling like the culture isn't appropriate. We do have people feeling like they don't know how to structure their days in a way that gets more done with less effort. We also have more mental health problems that are occurring these days as well, which are all very avoidable if you have great leadership in terms of helping people to improve their mindset and improve what we call psychological capital. So we called the business Next Evolution Performance for a reason. We never want to be stuck in the bucket of your very generic, classic, old school leadership programs. We want to make sure that we are on the cutting edge of this is today's workplace and what are the problems that need to be solved to really promote great performance in a sustainable way in today's workplace.
And when it comes to, so you said you're doing one-on-one coaching, group coaching with their teams generally, and I've asked this to other executive coaches as well, but I want to learn also from your perspective for my data research. When it comes to the executives, is it the company that is sponsoring or paying for the coaching, or is it the actual executive themselves?
Yeah, for us, because it's just such a strong business case in doing this, it's the company that's going to be paying for that. We get some people who might be sort of like in between roles or something where they might be looking to exit in some way, shape or form, who they might come to us directly for one-to-one coaching. But generally speaking, this is more of a company led or even just a division led. So we sort of deal with sort of the ideal clients that we're working with are division or company where we've got somewhere probably between 50 to 500 people. Now that division could be 50 to 500 people of a much larger company, or there could be divisions in all sorts of countries. And we might focus on one division to start with. And then generally what happens is other people will see what's going on and some of the great results that we're getting. That might then sort of feed through to other divisions. But basically, I think as a coach, we don't want to get caught up in the bureaucratic decision making where 89 people have to sign off and make a decision to move forward with us. We want to make sure that we've got access to the key decision makers in that division or in that company so that we can say, yes, let's look at this from a business case. We don't want to be the people that kind of come in there and go, oh, these are the people who are delivering workshops. It's like, no, we're helping you to get really great outcomes in terms of productivity, profitability, and we just use these workshops and coaching formats as a means to get there. So we want to be seen as, really partnering to solve those kind of all things. How do we optimize the humans in the business? And we want to be those coaches that come in and actually help them to solve those particular problems.
How long does it take for them to go through the program? Is it a specific length of the program?
Yeah, great question. So we normally have, say, for example, they're happy to go through generally probably around about 8 workshops. We generally suggest that they make a year of it. All right. So it might be something where we're doing the content, say, every 6 weeks or so. But then we're also doing sessions in between that. And we call them embedding sessions to help people to actually implement what they're doing. And it's a really great chance for them to learn from each other, to learn from us. But, we've got to have those sessions where there's no content. People get so excited about, oh, we need more content. It's like, no, you need to implement what you already know. So we're very, very focused on making sure that people implement.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And this other question is mostly for other coaches who are going to be listening to this is when it comes to marketing, what marketing channel is right now working very well for you?
Yeah, it's always a good question. And I think there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of finding like what works for you and your ideal clients, and even within our business. So for example, we have my business partner and I, and then we also have coaches who license our IP. So they're running their own successful businesses, and then we call them strategic partners. So we train them up in everything that we have in terms of running our business, but also all of the neuroscience-based leadership and culture content that they can then take and package and deliver themselves. And even within all of us coaches, everyone is doing something slightly different because it kind of depends on, we might all have slightly different niches or something like that. So I think the main thing is for people is to work out, to really think, who are the people that you want to focus on? And it doesn't necessarily mean niche down to a particular, is it financial services? Is it lawyers? Whatever. You can certainly do that. But we've got people who don't necessarily niche down that specifically, but they're really focused on, are these the kind of people that look like they've got, say, for us, it's the 50 to 500 people. Is it the company where they have a philosophical alignment to wanting to create a sustainable workplace culture in a way where people get to do their best work? And that's really kind of the main things. So it's kind of finding out where those clients are hanging out. So for us, we get a lot of work by referral, which is great. So when people get great results, they obviously, they're very good at, in a lot of cases, about telling other people about us. However, I guess sometimes we get the opposite, where people actually want to keep us a secret, in which case we don't have referrals. So we can't rely on referrals from everyone like that. So we have a program where we use a lot of LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn doesn't work for everybody if LinkedIn is not where your clients are hanging out. But if your clients are on there, then it can be very powerful way to be able to interact with other people on there, to kind of meet people who look like they could become your ideal clients, and just basically kind of find people where you might have a philosophical alignment there. We certainly don't want this approach of like, hi, do you want to connect? And hey, can I sell you something? That's certainly not what we want to do. But we see LinkedIn as a bit of a way to just kind of meet people online. It's like everyone's there online, and let's see where there's a fit. Let's see who's interested in our content. We do a lot of content generation. So most of us have newsletters that we put out on LinkedIn, plus we've got them for our own website via Next Evolution Performance. So it's really just about creating great content in a way that is going to attract people who resonate with the key messages that we have. We don't want to be out there pushing this to people where they just don't see the importance of culture and how that can impact their bottom line from a business sense. But the people who do, they're the kind of people that we want to attract to us. Yeah, so that's definitely something that works very well for us.
Cool, amazing. And it's been about 9 years and about 3 months that you've started your business, the Next Evolution Performance. Right now, what would you say do you have any specific goals looking into the future for the next 1 to 3 years with this coaching business?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that, philosophically, all of the coaches who work with us, we're very passionate about helping people to do great work, and for businesses to be very successful, for individuals to be very successful, but in a way that's sustainable and burnout free. And we think like that's a massive mission, right? Like, burnout's only increasing, and we're here trying to decrease it. So, and we want people to be more successful in doing this. So, we want to connect with other like-minded people so that we can actually start to scale this. Well, I mean, we are scaling it already, obviously, but we're now in a position where we've done a lot of, I guess, kind of productization of our offering. So it's very easy now to be able to, I guess, kind of even as individual coaches, to be able to roll it out and spend more time delivering rather than spending more time finding clients and creating content and all of that kind of thing. It's something where we've got the scale there now so that each of us coaches can now deliver more individually. So we just want to keep increasing the efficiencies on that. Obviously, AI is certainly helping us do a lot more efficient work in the back end so that we can spend more time with clients. And then what we now also do is we license our IP to both companies. So we want companies that we partner with, and we might be working with them on a program for, say, a year or so. We want them to be in a position where now they can license our IP, so we can do a train the trainer style where we actually roll that out to people who are in their businesses to train them to then roll this out. They still bring us in for the hard things and all of that kind of stuff, but it's something where the content can get out there. So we want that to be a way that we can scale this. So licensing our IP to companies with what we call our Sustainable People program. And then also, obviously, the more strategic partners that we have in terms of coaches who are already running great businesses, who then want to take the benefit of all the work that we've put into the back end to be able to then scale and take that out to their clients. That's a great way of doing it as well. So we want clients in different we want coaches in different countries who are then able to scale this. So we're very much on a mission that everyone deserves to be able to do great work in a way that feels easier. Leaders need to be able to make sure that they can lead for today's workplace, not just a generic leadership program that might have worked 20 years ago. We want to make sure that it's very cutting edge, it's up to date, we factor in the neuroscience, and it just creates great results for people. And the strategic partners that we already have on board are getting excellent results with their clients, and it's excellent results for them too. Personally, they've all increased their revenue significantly by being able to do that because they've got this great package where they can spend more time with clients rather than doing all the other things kind of take time from people.
That is a very interesting goal, and I really like it. And when it comes to, you mentioned that you want to continue to scale, want to continue to grow this. Do you have right now, how does your team structure look like right now?
So we've got Next Evolution Performance Global, which is where sort of all our IP sits, and that's our licensing company. So if people want access to even, say, recordings that we do and things like that, then they need to license that. So that sits with Next Evolution Performance Global. My business partner, Alex, and I are 50% shareholders in each of that. And then we also run our own country base. So Next Evolution Performance Australia, Next Evolution Performance New Zealand. That's how we run those. And then we're with Next Evolution Performance, and that's our email addresses, etc. We then have strategic partners. So they're coaches who they run their own business. They have their own email addresses, but they have all of this material, which is what we call powered by Next Evolution Performance. And so we give them all of the slides. They are branded with us. We can co-brand, but it's just kind of, it would be like, most coaches generally have to be licensed in some other IP that they've picked up somewhere along the line, whether it's psychometric testing, whether it's all these other kind of, tools that people use. So I think people are out there looking for things to be able to, add to their list of their credentials and what they can do and the kind of services that they can provide. So those businesses, we call them strategic partners, and they also appear on our website as well. We want to help promote them, but it just means that people have access to more coaches that have access to our way of doing things, and that tends to work really well. So we're very lean, even in terms of the back end of how we structure everything. We only have contractors that do everything else. We don't have any other full-time employees, so we've got executive assistants, virtual assistants. We've got people that do our website. We've got people that proofread, all of this kind of stuff that is all around the edges. They're all contractors because we don't need anyone full time, and we're using a lot of AI with that, even legal and organizing our contracts and whatnot. Even that all gets done by external people that we just bring in for the work that we need to do. So we're kind of like helping people. So I guess kind of the strategic partners that we bring on board, we're also helping them with how we run our business so that they can take some of those things away and make changes into how they're running their businesses.
Thanks so much for sharing. That is a very interesting setup. So it's basically you on the top with your business partner, focusing on different countries. And then when it comes to the coaches themselves are contractors that are utilizing your materials and being branded by you. They, in the meantime, could also be working for other companies or could be working for themselves, but they dedicate some of that time for you and your clients. So basically, you're doing the marketing, the sales. They're just doing the coaching. And
no, it's a little bit different. So we don't necessarily tend to Like, it's not a case of we go in and get clients for everyone and then they just deliver. They're actually still involved with running their own business. So it actually appeals to coaches who, if you're running your own coaching business, there is a lot to do. Like, so much to do that you barely have any time to spend time with clients. And so what we want to help coaches do is to run their own business more effectively and more efficiently, and so like, they don't want to have to create their own content on a lot of this. I've gone out and I've got a master's in neuroscience. That was quite time consuming. So rather than feel like you've got to go out and do all of that, let's us package that up. So think of them as they're still running their own businesses. They're still going out and getting their own clients, but it's just an easier way for them to deliver with all of this. Now, that said, obviously when we've got coaches that are trained up in this, we have clients in multiple countries. So the fact that I'm sitting in Sydney, Australia, if we've got some of our clients who have people in the US, rather than get me on a plane to do something, if they need something face to face, I can say, actually, we have a coach who's based in this part of the US. And, maybe it would be a case of like, we would actually, then cross refer business to that particular client. If they wanted someone on the ground, obviously we do a lot of our stuff virtually as well. But if they wanted somebody on the ground in that particular country, by having these strategic partners in different places around the globe, we certainly have access to be able to share clients where that's appropriate. We don't want it to be this whole idea of, we're going to get clients for you and you just deliver. That's not the case. That's definitely not the case. But, we want people who are business owners, who think like business owners, who are running their own business and realize that, well, gosh, if I can just have, all of this content given to me and I can go out and deliver that, then that's a far more efficient use of my time than having to go and create all of this. So like, one of our strategic partners who's based in the US at the moment, he was at exactly that. He's running his own business. He was already starting to do more of this high performance without burnout. And he was now starting to go, gosh, I really need to create a lot of content to do this, so that he could create his own programs. And then he found what we're doing and he was like, hang on, this is exactly what I would like to create anyway, but it's all been done and it's all been created already. So this makes perfect sense. So he's only been with us for a couple of months, but he's already got 3 different companies that have signed up, ready to do this particular program. So that's paying for his licensing fees easily. So that's the kind of thing. So it's not a case of, if coaches just want someone to feed them clients, we're not the model for them. But if they're a coach who's potentially running their own business, who realizes there is a lot to do when you're running your own business, and who's wanting to get access to a lot of the back end to help them with that, but they're still running a great business and they're bringing in their own clients and they want to collaborate, I think we provide that community as well. It's very lonely just working as a coach in your own business too. So it's that collaboration where we can get people together and we can really share what's working for people, what's working in this country, what's working in that country, and let's get this best practice of global ideas together.
Interesting. Thanks so much for clarifying that. That is quite an interesting setup. So when you said you want to scale the licensing, basically you want the materials that you've created to be accessible by more coaches that are doing something similar. You doing your own clients, how much percentage of your time is spent with actual clients that you're coaching themselves yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're getting more efficient in terms of how we're training coaches. We're now starting to look in, how do we get, pre-recordings and AI and things like that to help us. But so that means that what we can do is we can give a lot of the training that's just the off the shelf work. People can work through that themselves. And then we come to a situation where the interaction that they have with myself and Alex is far more rich in terms of, let's put this into practice. Let's deal with the nuts and bolts of what's going on here. So, so we're still doing, that's becoming more efficient in how we do that. And obviously we also want to scale via the companies as well. We want companies to be able to license this so that they can then roll it out for more and more in their companies, and do it that way. So we're now starting to be in a position where the day-to-day of what we do in terms of our own client work and maybe sort of scaling the company licensing side of things, that's still probably the majority of what we're doing. But we're now finding that because we can have more efficiencies with how we're training up other coaches, which is helping. But, we kind of think that they're not sort of completely delineated, right? So we can kind of help each other across each of those. So it's changing at the moment. It was very much a case of we were just doing delivery and we weren't really doing the licensing. And then probably in the last couple of years, the licensing started to come up. And, we don't want this to be something that is available to every single coach under the sun. It's not going to be appropriate for that. So we would rather have a smaller number of niche coaches really running businesses very successfully so that people see this Next Evolution Performance brand as you're going to get an amazing coach who's also living and breathing what they preach as well. We don't want anyone who's feeling, like they're burnt out or something like that, because that's not our brand. We want people who are living and breathing this themselves and really great, so that, if we have business and we have absolutely no problems in knowing exactly that person would be great and they're based in that country, so that we can get some great results that way. So we're not looking to scale up the coaches by having thousands of coaches globally licensed in what we do. We still want it to be very boutique, but we're getting some great results in how we do that and doing it more efficiently. So that's something that hopefully we can still deliver our own work as well as scaling up with the coaches. And I think that was probably one of the biggest crossroads that we had, right? Because it's kind of like most people are sort of saying, well, how do you scale? You still bring in the business and then you just get other coaches to come in and deliver. But we found that way we weren't getting the standard that we wanted. And we tried with a couple of coaches who were just starting up their businesses, and that wasn't working either. We need people who are committed to doing this, who aren't thinking, oh, should I do coaching? Should I go back to a corporate job? All of this kind of thing. We don't want people in that space. We want people who this is their passion, this is what they're doing, and they just want to do it better and more efficiently. And so that's become a really good sweet spot for us. And because Alex and I realized that, we don't want to be in a position where we just run the business and we don't do the client work ourselves. We actually love interacting with clients. We love coaching. We love seeing the profound changes that people get as a result of our program. So we didn't want to sit above and go, we just bring in the business and we farm out the business to other people. We wanted to be where we want to build this business with other like-minded business owners who are great coaches who also want to do the same thing. They really want to spend more time with clients and want to run a great business in the process. So we want coaches who think big. We want coaches who are not going to be limited in their thinking. And we basically think that everyone should be rewarded to do this. Don't be afraid to be charging the fees. Don't be afraid to be doing great work and scaling this, because it is important work for companies and they're getting a massive return on investment for it. Don't go in there thinking, I'm just offering coaching or I'm just doing this. It's like we're solving business problems, and we want other coaches who think that way as well.
Amazing. And I really like that you came into this podcast, because I've had a lot of coaches I feel like would probably benefit from having something like this that they can utilize. And I feel like this is a very good opportunity for them to learn and maybe even reach out to you and see how that actually works. And when it comes to you getting to scale even further, have this licensing kind of like setup or model scale even more, what is the challenge right now that you're facing? What is that main bottleneck that you're trying to solve for?
Yeah, it's I think for us at first the biggest bottleneck was how do we scale this, and kind of what's the right kind of coach that we need to work with, and also the right company for the company licensing side of things. So I think what we've done, we've just been in that process of overcoming that. So we're really feeling like we've got a good situation for that right now. I think for us, it's just going to make sure that we are probably just utilizing AI as best we can. I think the thing is with AI is it's changing so much and every day. And I think for us, having the realization that the best way to use AI for a coaching business at this stage is probably to really just use it as much as you can for everything in the back end. And, obviously for us, for training coaches and things like that, and, creating great materials and whatnot. So that's quite handy. And so we're sort of looking more at that at this stage. So I think probably just the speed with which AI is progressing and getting your head around how you use that in a business and how you continue to use it. I think that's probably going to be one of the things. I mean, it's not, we see it more as an opportunity because it's going to help us with all of that, but you still need to invest the time and effort to actually work through how do we do it, what platforms, all of these kind of things in the process. So that's probably sort of one of the biggest things that we're grappling.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And right now, the final question is, looking at these coaches, what advice would you like to give to these coaches when they're looking to scale their impact? Could be coaches that you're working with or coaches like yourself that because you're also doing delivery on your own. So what advice would you give to the coaches that are trying to scale their impact?
I think probably some of the things that we've learned is like we just have to be absolutely super clear on the most efficient way of doing everything in the back end. And so, we've done a lot of work in sort of productizing what we do so that we're not like everything that we do for clients is still bespoke because, we might deliver it slightly differently, but we still have a lot of the foundations that are off the shelf and ready to go. You cannot be creating every client program from scratch. That's just not efficient. So I think productizing, which is obviously what we've done as part of the process, and really making sure that you're focusing on solving problems and you're really focusing on the return on investment that your clients are getting out of this and keeping yourself out of the I'm a coach and therefore I should be seen as charging this much and I charge by the hour and this is the going rate for coaching. It's like, get out of that bucket. We need to make sure that we're solving problems for people and really seeing as partnering with them. So getting very clear on return on investment around this and solving problems, not just we do workshops and we do coaching. No, get out of that. That's just a means to the end, but we need to make sure that we're focusing on really helping people get great profitability and really optimize the people in the business. So we obviously need to do that in the back end ourselves. But I would say, outsource as much as you can. If people are already doing this kind of thing, then leverage that as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And thank you for taking the time to come into our podcast today. For anyone who wants to connect with you or reach out to you, they can go into LinkedIn and they will be able to find you at Vanessa Bennett. Is there any other way that people can connect with you or reach out to you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is certainly a great way. LinkedIn, which is my personal one, Vanessa Bennett at Next Evolution Performance, then that should be relatively easy to find. But also our website. Our website has a lot of information on there around our philosophy, how we work with our clients. There's also some licensing information on there, how we work with companies and coaches as well. And that is nextevolutionperformance.com. So feel free to go in, and we like to think of ourselves as very easy to stalk on social media. So get in there and stalk away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanessa. It was lovely having you on the show.
Thanks, Rexhen. Great to speak with you.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.